the trick is self-awareness to know what you're running towards or what you're running away from, and tune into that. Because pain can be a great motivator, and shame. Shame is something we all feel, and shame will either make you retract into a corner and hide from the world, or it will motivate you to make change. And ultimately, it's your choice.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think there's not many entrepreneurs that I've met that are not or were in pain. I think there are quite a few
that are not in pain. No, that are in pain.
Yeah, I think that's
right. You think most are in pain in some way.
They're either running away from it or they're currently in pain. And I think the trick is to try and keep some sort of barriers up where you don't run towards whatever your goal is from the pain and hurt everyone on the sidelines, which I think a lot of people do because they just go towards the money. They realize money wasn't the actual answer. There's maybe another answer, which is just the game or the goal, right?
Yeah. Hurt people, as they say.
So true,
yeah. I've not really thought about it in the way of running towards a goal and hurting people along the way. I mean, I don't like hurting people, so I try not to. But business taught me that, don't go around hurting people, but don't allow someone to bully you either. And if you fuck with me, you're going to get fucked back. And that message is important. Otherwise, people will take the piss out of you. And there's lots of people out there that are either just screwing people over too much and they need to fucking back off and think about others. There's also a lot of people who are, getting bullied and, allowing people to own them. And you can't. I've run a business for 20 years. I've got over 100 staff. I've been doing this a long time. And, you can't be a pushover. You will just break.
Yeah, people want to copy you and stuff all the time. Can I just touch on, you mentioned a few minutes ago, you did some art sort of part-time. And I know you've done lots of art in the past. Entrepreneurship is quite creative, very creative, really. You're problem solving and creating new stuff, making value out of nothing. That's what the word entrepreneur literally means, adding value to a market and then expecting to become profitable from it. Were you always creative as a child when you were growing up, teens through school? Architecture is a very creative subject to study. So when you went into entrepreneurship, did you then find it easier because you could understand how creativity would benefit you?
So yes, I've always been a creative type. If you want to label a type.
Sure.
I was very good at art. You don't often hear me say I'm very good at things, but at GCSE I got 100%. And I was told by my tutors I'm the only person in the country to get 100% at art. I won a prize at school for it. And how do you get 100% at art? Because it's subjective. Yeah. So, I mean, I was always the best in class at art. I was often the best in school, even a few years down at art. And I love music. I love art, film, anything that connects emotionally. So I suppose I have always been creative. And that's not often a good place to start from, or it can make entrepreneurship harder. So, you're coming from the vantage point that that's what entrepreneurship is, being creative. I agree. It's creating a solution that no one else could find, a solution that, is either the same but different, like the new iPhone is the same but different, but that's still creative. Or radical revolution like Ferrari, or consistent evolution like Porsche. There's so many different ways of being creative. If Tim Cook took Apple when Steve Jobs died, and I kind of thought that would be over for Apple, and how he's evolved Apple is wildly successful. And you could just say, oh yeah, but all he's done is sold the same iPhone over and over and over and over and over. But it's very creative. Yeah. If you think about AirPods, I mean, they're genius. So a lot of people, for you, being an entrepreneur is about creativity, and it can be that, but that worries a lot of people or puts them off, or they think that they're not that type. You can be any type to be an entrepreneur. You can, if you look at the rich list of the richest people in the world, many of them are engineers, and they're not arty types. No. And actually being really creative and arty types, often they struggle with the commercial side. So I think that life is about paradoxical opposites, and embracing them both. So creative and commercial are two paradoxical opposites. If you're too commercial, you can't be creative. If you're too creative, you can't be commercial.
I just want to briefly interrupt this podcast so I can talk to you about Nutrition Kitchen, who have kindly sponsored this episode. As entrepreneurs who are looking to stay as healthy as possible, fueling ourselves with high quality food without breaking the bank or wasting time can be tough day to day. Nutrition Kitchen solves that issue by delivering incredible meals to your door tailored to your diet, whether you're trying to lose weight, build muscle, or maintain balance. They change their menus all the time so you can choose from a variety of dishes and leave the monotony of meal prepping behind. Now, back to our guest.
And often, by the way, being creative is being commercially creative.
Yeah.
I.e., how can we make really good profits and create a product or service that people want? If you think about Amazon, I don't know if you might not be old enough to remember this, but you used to have to go on Amazon and buy something online and anywhere, and you had to put all your details in, and it would take 5 minutes, and then you pressed buy, and then you got the doom of death cycle, and then it probably didn't go through, and they had to do it again. Then you worried if you paid twice, and that took 12 minutes, and you're like, fuck, I want something else, and you've got to go and do it all over again. And then Amazon had the one-click order button. Now that is creative and technical, because the engineering behind that would have been no mean feat. I mean, we take it for granted, the engineering and the creativity and the problem solving.
Unreal.
So I know you said entrepreneurship is creative, but it's also commercial, it's also technical, it's also engineering. It's all things, which means anyone can be an entrepreneur if you want to be one.
I actually completely agree. I don't think I'm massively creative, and I think you're right. Like, if you look at most of the businesses, like you said already, that do really well, they're normally quite boring. It's normally a boring business which is making small creative or solving little problems as they go up, right? And this is where we can move on to a lot of property stuff, right? It's because I think that is fundamentally, it sounds obvious or easy. Even though it's not, there's creative things you can do inside it, but it's put one money in there to bring it out here. Same as buying gold or silver. So to get to that conversation, I want to ask you, someone's listening to this and they're an entrepreneur, maybe they're an entrepreneur, they're in their 20s or 30s. What can they do with their money now to start building wealth towards whatever success looks like for them?
Well, it depends how much they've got, and it depends how much they've got as a percentage of everything they've got. People always ask me, oh, Rob, how should I invest 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, 500 grand, $1 million? Well, is it your only 10 grand? So if someone's only got 10 grand in the whole world, I'd invest it in themselves. Because you are your best asset, so invest in yourself wisely. You pay yourself the best return. I'd start your own business on it. You could turn 10 grand into 100 million in 10 or 15 years if you put your own sweat equity and your own hustle in, and that's how many entrepreneurs start. If it's your only 10 grand in the world and you're 21, don't put it in gold, because it's going to take you 932 years to make any decent money out of it. But, if you're 52 and you want to invest 50 grand and it's not your only 50 grand and you want to be defensive, investing in gold or silver or the S&P 500, FTSE 100 might be a good way to go. So I don't like complication. I like simplicity. People like reading all my books because I make complicated concepts simple, and I write for the masses. I'm not an intellectual or a pseudo-intellectual or whatever. I know what I am. But when it comes to investing your money, you do need to know where you're at, and you do need some criteria to tick. So I'll just go through them real quick. What's your risk appetite? So if you're 23 or 63, your risk appetite is going to be different. Number two, how much that you're investing is a percentage of your overall net worth. The more it is, the less you've probably got to take as a risk, because if you lose it all, you've lost a lot. Yeah. This is why a lot of people in crypto are young. People in crypto are young, one, because they figured it out, and the older generation are still trying to figure out how to log on to Facebook. There's that element. But they can take the fucking risk because they're young. If you're 51 with 3 kids and you've just renewed your mortgage and you've got 3 cars because you need the SUV, and you can't take the same level of risk. So you think about that. You think about Are there any, maybe there's assets that you like. You know, I always kind of liked property or the thought of it. My dad loved property. I love watches, so I can make money out of watches. If you don't like watches, that might not be a thing for you. How active can you be in it? Have you got a 60-hour-a-week job or a 40-hour-a-week job? Are you looking to start a business sometime in the future? Or you actually like your job and you're not interested in that? And you go through all of these, and then you decide between property, S&P 500, FTSE 100 stocks and shares, your own business, gold, silver, Bitcoin, material items like jewelry, watches, classic cars, handbags, whatever else.
If you like these episodes, feel free to subscribe to our Healthy Hustle newsletter below, where you'll get behind the scenes information from our guests, as well as from the studio operator who helps us create these cinematic episodes. It's also full of business advice and tips, and it will help you join the community of healthy entrepreneurs.